Hey guys, today I've got something extra special for you. You might remember that I did the Star Wars themed Iron Kong in my last video for a contest, and what you're looking at right here is the prize that got me. This is the Godkaizer from the OJR line, and it's one of the rarest Zoids out there these days. The contest was run by my old online buddy Major Kong, who has possibly been a fan of Zoids longer than I have, and he's also just an all-around great dude and this channel's #1 patron. No disrespect to you, Jeremy, but Kong was first. Anyway, I got this guy completely new in box, so we're going to do the whole routine with an unboxing and everything here, and I'll also show you how it's built, so this is going to be a long one. Strap in and let's get started.
RoboShop.
Alright then, let's take a look at this box here. First of all, I would say it's like about a medium-sized box. It's very thick, but the cover, the front dimensions, it's not really that big. We've got a, what is for the time a fairly typical illustration of like a grade-up Zoid here with these, really blown out airbrushed highlights and everything. Here's the old school Zoids logo. The old Helix Republic logo, the old round Tomy logo, of course, and I'm gonna run all this through Google Translate for later in the video, of course. On the side here, we have the same illustration again. This, I wonder what this is. It's a rubber cap, so it looks like this tells you that it has rubber caps and a motor. I don't know. Same illustration on this side, and here's an actual photo with this really cool background here too. And this actually, of course, shows it with the Wing Rider unit attached, which colors-wise makes sense. Yeah, maybe we can take a look at that afterwards as well. And here on this side we have the usual info about how it moves and gimmicks. And on the back, with photos, not illustrations, it shows the grade up port, the relevant portion of the battle story here. This really nice picture that's like, I was going to say a photo manipulation, but they didn't have Photoshop back then, did they? So I don't know if this bloom is airbrushed on, but it's probably just standing in front of like a background with this stuff printed on it, right? This probably says that there's gold parts. This tells you what moves when it walks. There's a picture of the cockpit opening. And yeah, otherwise, I mean, design-wise, of course, this is one of those good old-fashioned classic Zoids boxes from the grade-up era. But let's take a look at what's inside now. The tape is very yellow, but it has been cut. Not to worry, though. Wait, I think this side's a bit easier to get open. Not to worry. I'm going to be honest, I already peeked inside because I heard some loose parts flying around when I picked the box up, and so I was wondering. But as you can see, we're looking at the genuine article here. The box is, the bag is still sealed, so bear witness as I cut it open, folks. One of the last times, for me at least, something like this is going to happen, because I've never actually seen any of this before. Here's the instructions. We'll take a look at that in a second. It's a little promotional leaflet. And now in here we have a black sprue. We're going to take a look at all these. We have the gold-plated sprue in a separate bag. That's nice. We have this little baggie here. Come on. Which contains the rubber caps and all of the gears, because this is a grade-up Zoid where I presume you built the gearbox yourself. And then the rest of the sprues are loose. Here's the motor. And one second, folks, I gotta make sure I don't lose anything here. There's a gear and another gear, and these two axles. And and a bit of gold plating that's chipped off of something, I assume. Well, let's keep that here. Okay, that's everything that's in the bag. Hopefully I didn't lose anything just pulling it out now. Let's take a look at the sprues. This is, of course, all of the armor parts. As you can see, very curvilicious. Not a lot of, or really no surface detail, but focus at this point in Zoids history was obviously more on sort of, you know, curvy designs. They all kind of look like that. Next we have this black sprue. This is the A sprue, which, I mean, this looks to be the head and the shoulder joints basically, and this is the parts for the gearbox, I'm sure. This will probably go on a leg somewhere. And then we have, up next on my stack is 12 black rubber caps. Very standard. These are like the standard, actually, caps that already came with sort of the very first wind-up models. We have a purple sprue, which has these pieces that probably form part of the legs. These do have some surface detail and this nice little tube on the back and a hydraulic piston here. We have these very blocky and angular looking feet that I've always thought were weird. Notice how they have these, they have two pegs, or actually they're more like axles to attach the legs to. I'll be curious to see how the leg mechanism works. I mean, this is what it looks like on the Death Star, if I remember correctly, right? And this here is the tip of the tail, which is pretty much just a purple triangle. Here we have, these are like mechanical pieces that are going to drive the movement, no doubt. So this and this, probably the power switch, this one. We've got two guns, a bit of surface detail, more mechanical stuff. And this right here, lower jaw, I'm sure. Then up next is this little baggie, which I need to cut open. Okay, we've got more rubber caps in here. I wonder, this is probably like a standard bag that came with all the grade up Zoids, which is why some of the gears are in here and some of the caps, and some others are outside of this bag. But honestly, I couldn't tell you. It has just flat out been too long since I've built one of these. If I have no idea where the instructions for my King Liger are. This is the axle that's going to drive the leg movement, of course, here with a gear attached to it. We have these gears and a gold-plated pilot, because this is a Republic Zoid. Another gear, and yet another gear, and that's everything that's in this bag. Now, before I take the gold-plated parts out, these are the pieces with the most surface detail. This is the grade up port. This is, if I had to guess, the underside of the tail. Battery cover, the big gun that goes on the back, and some leg pieces. And finally, we have the gold parts, the E sprue. I wonder what this is going to look like in the video, because these are very reflective. And as near as I can tell right now, the gold plating has held up very nicely. I'm not seeing any of the usual fading around the edges. Looks good. I'll inspect these more closely when I clean up the parts before assembly, of course. Just very briefly, here's the sticker sheet, which also looks to have held up quite well. Whoever stored this thing took really good care of it. Now, here's something else. I really should have opened the box from this side. There's actually, if you look in here, you see that? There's a little separate cardboard compartment here that contains some parts that hopefully off camera. I don't know how I'm gonna edit this all together. I just forgot to. I just thought I didn't have these. It's a little baggie here. For some reason these are packaged separately. What you have here is these two metal pieces that are basically to make the gearbox work. Actually, it's three. And also these two self-adhesive, rubber stoppers that you no doubt take off the sheet and then you stick them to the feet so that it doesn't just do a moonwalk. So before we get to building, let's take a look at the instructions. There's the parts list right here. Then it says here to put in these metal contact parts, the motor, see you assemble the gearbox. And then the build is a pretty straightforward process here, of course. Takes one battery, there's the power switch, and it shows how you can fit the grade up unit number 4 and the eye flasher on there, both of which I happen to have. So we're gonna check that out for sure. And finally, here's this promotional leaflet that came with it. I think maybe I'll show you a scan later in the video. It has, you know, things like going back all the way to the Death Star, or at least, and here's the Command Wolf. So there's pretty old models on here. Otherwise, of course, it's from the grade up era, so that's the main focus. On the back here, we have, oh wow, all the trans fighters. I only got this one, Gorgle Launcher. Yeah, that's another one for my collecting goals list that's probably never going to get ticked off. But then again, I said the same thing about the Godkaizer, so who knows. Anyway, yeah, that's everything that's in this box, folks. I'm going to get these parts off the sprues now, get them cleaned up, and then I'm going to show you how it all goes together. Actually, to wrap up this unboxing, let's take another look at the box. On the top right here, above the katakana, it says Mecha Biological Zoid Republic Side Combat Machine Beast, which is certainly a mouthful. In parentheses, it says Tyrannosaurus type, which, well, okay, I guess. On the left there, next to the claws, it says something that Google translates as Metal Claw Standby, which is probably a translation error for something that explains that they're retractable. It also says something along the lines of break through the Dark Army, so I guess the idea is that the Godkaizer cuts its way through the Gylo's forces with those slicer dicers. And on the bottom it just says that it's a model kit. On the side here it just explains that the arms move up and down and the mouth opens and closes. Now, I really can't get the battle story to translate properly. The year is 2056, the Republic Army is being led by what seems to say Orudios, and then most of it is gibberish until it mentions the Gilvader. But my translation seems to say that the Godkaizer was created to fight the Gilvader, which apparently isn't what actually happened in the battle story, so yeah, basically I have no idea. Anyway, the numbered list on the right is all of the weapons. The electric beam cannon and the thunder sword on the head, a triple beam cannon on the back, double shotguns on the tail, and metal claws. The paragraph under that doesn't translate right again, but it seems to say that it has, you know, a lot of guns and that it can stay under radar because of its low height. It also mentions the trans fighters, or at least I think that's what that TF stands for. And then on the left it just explains that the cockpit opens and closes. By the way, Google can't seem to read the katakana, but it apparently says Godkaizer, which is a bit weird. Based on what little I know of Japanese phonology, that extra syllable shouldn't be necessary, but I guess I'm wrong about that. Anyway, let's get to building. And here's your first jump cut. It is now about half an hour later, and I've taken apart the gearbox, I think for the third time. So let me show you guys, hopefully, how to do this correctly. I put in a battery, which allows me, this metal part connects to the motor here. And then we put this in. Come on. And now this is what turns it on, right? Okay, motor is working. Now, a little bit of advice, if you're going to do this, let me see if I can show this. See, I made a mess here too. Let me see if I can show you this in the, on camera. Like, you see this tab here that folds in to make contact here, The best way to do this is to bend it just a little so that it's underneath the one on the motor, which isn't what you would think is a good idea to do. The instructions actually just tell you to bend them outwards so that they'll make contact. But this is what I changed, and now it's working. Let me test it again. Okay, getting a little paranoid here. Now, we need to put together the rest of the gearbox assembly, and I can already tell you that I also made a big fat massive mistake there, which resulted in the jaw not moving. We put in this piece, which is later going to drive the jaw movement, and now this, see, this needs to be in the correct way around, which is like this. You see with this piece, you notice this here? Well, you can see this, but this will hopefully, if I'm understanding this correctly, drive this jaw piece back and forth, and it does. Okay, that appears to be in working order. Now, this, I'll make sure I don't get this backwards. This goes in like this. And then we have this with the metal shaft underneath, which goes in here. And just so you know, like the instructions for this are insanely unclear. The only reason I'm doing this so confidently now is because this is the third time I'm assembling this damn thing. I have to be honest, like, as an old fart right now, I'm kind of actually having fun putting this together. If you had made me do this when I was a kid, I think I would have cried. But anyway, I need to put this on because otherwise the gears are just going to go flying when I test it again. And now let's see. Okay, that looks correct. Now, the next thing that happens is that we put on the neck assembly. Also losing track of how many times I've done that now. Now I think this is supposed to just rest up against it like that. Not 100% sure though, and not convinced this is gonna work. Or just go flying. See, it's supposed to just like drop down by means of gravity, I think, but it sits really tight. Although what just happened now that proves that at least, you know, gravity does work on it. See, it seems to be like a really tight fit. So let me see what happens. Oh no, look. Yeah. The mouth does open and close, although not a whole lot. Okay, yeah, I tested it a couple of times. This is, it only works when I hold it correctly, because this is basically just supposed to drop down by means of gravity, and I can't really show this to you, but it tends to get caught a lot, so it doesn't really work that well. Now, what I can show is how I put this in. I do have footage of me attempting it and probably swearing, but there's this piece here that makes contact with the battery, which is a real pain to get in there, and you have to make sure it's seated correctly and it's all the way in, because otherwise it won't do what it's supposed to do. Now this is the power switch that I just squeezed in there without really showing you how it's done, and what that does is, see, it presses this forward so that it makes contact. Basically, I've been doing this with my finger up to now, right? And now it works, freaking finally. This took forever. Let's get back to the more decorative part of the build here, I guess you might say. Which is that we first of all take out the battery. We attach the tail in a way that is yet again kind of difficult to read in these instructions. It's really a bit surprising. Like the old school 80s Zoids instructions were always very clear, but this one, okay, like that. Right, and next we put on some armor, which is, I think, from the white sprue. This it? Yep, these two. Here's the second one. Now, hold on. For once I didn't grab the wrong one on the first attempt. Okay. So this, if I understand this correctly, is supposed to attach like this. Doesn't want to fit. Okay, here we go. I'll put on the other one. And stick it all together at the top here. Are you telling me there's no, okay. All right, no, it does stay in place. There's no peg in between like here, which I thought was pretty weird, but it does stay together. And you put like the grade up emblem on there anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. Now, next we put on the head armor, which is these two, and we also put this pretty cool looking gold piece in between there. I think that's the one. It is the one. Let's do this from this side. It's the easiest way for me to read the instructions, to be honest. Goes on like this. And then this hopefully will actually fit the way I expected it to. Okay, yeah. So this is basically the cockpit hatch. And what I was just doing here doesn't work, so let's do this. Squeeze these together like so. Whoa, that felt like it was going to snap. Okay, here we go, and we're making progress. Now, up next, we are going to assemble the arms, for which I am going to need a bunch of rubber caps, 4 on each side to be specific. Although the instructions have me do this differently. So this is for the arms. And then another 4 for the leg. Here we go. Exciting stuff, I know. All right, so we need what I assume is the smaller one of these 2 gold pieces. That's the one, and then this is the arm, and this goes on here, like so. And then we have these retractable Wolverine blades here, which are supposed to go in, yeah, like that. And then we put a cap on here to hold them in place. And the idea is that you can okay, I see. The idea is that you don't do what I just did. Actually, that does work. I mean, you're obviously not supposed to pull them all the way out. More just like that, because if you pull them out too far, they start to flop. So I guess the idea is that, I guess the instructions are probably going to show how you're supposed to do this. So let's figure it out when we get there. I need 2 more mechanical pieces, specifically not this one, but this one, and one of these triangular kind of ish looking pieces, this one. Okay, now if I understand this correctly, we put, we put on the arm first and attach it with a peg, and then this guy, like, like that. Make sure that the arm attaches to it, and this is going to go back and forth, I guess. And a cap here. And also this piece doesn't entirely look like it does in the instructions. It's a bit confounding. And then this piece goes on like that, right? And we put on a cap like so. And next is the rest of the leg assembly, which was the part I was curious about, if you remember what I said in the unboxing. We have, no, we have, yes, this one, and then we attach this somewhere, somehow. Let me actually, you know what, let me start with the foot. Because first we have to get one of these stoppers off of there. Oh, come on. You've only been attached to that since the late 1980s. Don't be difficult now. Here we go. Seeing that goes in here. Because as I mentioned in the unboxing, and hopefully I didn't edit out that part, you know, a lot of the older Zoids had these rubber stoppers in their feet that are basically there to make sure that they don't slip and do the moonwalk. Now this attaches like this, and yeah, it's a better idea to start with the foot, because then it's just generally more clear how all this crap is supposed to go together, which apparently is like this. And there's another cap that goes somewhere, oh yeah, here on the inside. Or just drop it through. Like that. Okay, now see, this is, I guess this is what it's going to do. I hope I got this right. I mean, it looks correct. Now I need two more caps, because I'm going to attach this to the remaining free pegs that we have here. And here we go. Let's take a look at that. Put the battery back in and see how that works, because it's about to get covered up by armor. Okay. Yeah, I mean, not too great in the range of motion department, but it's a pretty interesting construction, I have to say. Now, like I said, this is about to get covered up with armor, and that looks like that. Okay, it's pretty cool. We've got, like, you know, I always like this sort of design where you have like detailed mechanical parts under armor parts with less detail. It's generally not necessarily the most detailed Zoid in the history of the line, but that's pretty neat. Now we do the same thing on this side, meaning first we assemble one of the Wolverine arms. I'm also going to need what appears to be the rest of the caps that I have, which I'm going to fingernail off the sprue like I always do, because that's the way I've been doing it ever since I was 6 years old. Wait, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 for the arm and 4 for the leg assembly. No, it's not all of them just yet. May end up with 2 left over. Okay, so here we go. Claw goes in here. Armor goes on here. And then we attach the arm first, like so. Got a little extra peg here if you want to mount a gun on it. And then we need this guy right here in order to attach like that, which now holds the arm in place. And then this goes on here. This goes here. And leg assembly, second time. Let's get the stopper on the foot first. This is more annoying to do than you think. Okay, here we go. That's the foot. And then this goes on the rear peg. And this goes on the front peg. And then we attach it to the Zoid, like so. Oh man, it's a Godkaizer. It's coming together, guys, and I'm realizing that I have a Godkaizer. So where does this pack go? Here. It's one of those moments that I'm gonna experience like one more of these and then that's it. Then I'll never build another Zoid for the first time in my life. Unless Zoids Wild comes back from, let's be optimistic and say hibernation. But anyway, that's really the main assembly done, because now all that's left for us to do is, first of all, no, we're going to do the cockpit last. Always do the cockpit last. We are going to deck this guy out with some guns. This goes on here to cover up the grade up port. Okay. I guess they were mostly worried because you can't, well, you can kind of mount it pointing forward, but I guess they were mostly worried that the Godkaizer was going to be attacked from behind for some reason. Make up your own inappropriate joke. Grade up tab goes here. Tail consists of two parts which go together like this. Oh, that reminds me, by the way, these gold parts. Remember how I said in the unboxing that I would inspect them for like the usual wear and tear and edge fading? They have pretty much none of that. They look brand new. Whether that's just a lucky break or thanks to how the previous owner, which may or may not have been Major Kong, stored this guy, I do not know. But well, either way, I got lucky. I got a Godkaizer with really nice looking gold pieces. All right, the instructions were actually telling me to do this last, but screw that. I'm gonna put this on first. And like, how is this close? Do you just press it down? Yeah, you just press it down. Okay, and now we put in the pilot, which goes in with this separate piece here that's actually basically the eyes. Let me make sure I don't do this backwards. I was going to do it backwards. It's a seat with basically no detail on it. And then you put it in here where the eyes are supposed to be. See, now it has eyes. And we plonk down the cockpit hatch and we have a Godkaizer. And I'm gonna say right now, before I say or do anything else, it looks better than I expected. It really does. Anyway, I am going to get the stickers on this thing, and then we're gonna check it out in action and do some comparisons and mount some grade up units on it and all that good stuff. You know how that goes. I will see you in the photo booth. So let's start with comparisons. Here's the Battle Cougar, which looks quite a bit taller than the Godkaizer. Next I've got the Gunbluster. Note that the collars here don't match in case you thought they would. The Godkaizer looks almost purple compared to the Gunbluster. And finally here's the King Liger, and that's all of the chromed OJR grade ups I have. I just figured it would make sense to compare the Godkaizer to all of them. While we're talking about the King Liger though, here's the Godkaizer with the Wing Rider mounted on it. I'm really kind of surprised by how good this looks. Unfortunately, the gold plating looks to be a different color, but I couldn't tell you if that's because it's pretty faded on my Wing Rider or because they were always different. Other than that, it works pretty well though. I'm tempted to actually display it with this instead of the Canon. Next, here's the Godkaizer's face up close with the eye flasher mounted on it. It's not completely obvious in these pictures, but there's quite a bit of light leaking going on at the top, and because of the way the armor's designed, it's a bit hard to see the glowing eyes. You basically have to look at it from underneath. You know, like so. And last thing before we check it out in action, here's the blades gimmick. You know, blades retracted, and blades extended. Okay, now let's see him walk. Yeah, I'm gonna say pretty good for a late stage grade up. Unlike most of them, the Godkaizer actually has kind of sort of jointed legs, so it lifts his feet up pretty well. Of course it also wobbles a bit like they all did back in the day, but considering that the tail doesn't drag, I'd actually say this thing walks pretty damn well. And oh yeah, here it is with the Wing Rider, and what do you know, it actually works. So, the reason this was such a big deal for me is that out of all the motorized models in all of Zoids history, the Godkaizer and the Deathcat are the only ones left that I didn't have at least some variant of. Outside of my Zoids Wild reviews, it's been years and years since the last time I've built a Zoid that I hadn't built before, and that's kind of one of my last remaining collecting goals. What's funny is that in the early 2000s, you couldn't spend 5 minutes on eBay without seeing a Godkaizer pop up for like $50, and now it's super rare and fetches ridiculous prices if one shows up. I've been kicking myself about that for years. I will also say though that now that I have one, I'm very pleasantly surprised by it. I've probably mentioned before that I'm not a fan of the smaller grade ups in general, and we always made fun of this one for looking, you know, kinda like he's constipated, but he actually doesn't. The long tail really helps the overall proportions look good, and you've gotta love that Spartan helmet design it has going on. I'm really happy I finally got my hands on this one, and I hope this video at least managed to help you guys share in that happiness a little. Well, and that's it for this one. I don't know what's next. I've got 2 Kotobukiya kits on the way, and I should actually be getting the rest of the limited Zoids Wild variants, so that's happening one way or the other. If you're a fan of Zoids and you're not subscribed to this channel, you're really going to want to hit that subscribe button right about now so you don't miss all of that stuff. If you'd like to support me, I have Patreon and PayPal links in the description, but if you just give this video a like and maybe sit through the ads, that helps me out as well, and it doesn't cost you anything. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.